What happens to my super when I die? Who gets it? There's a lot of concerns that if people don't make a nomination or they've got the wrong nomination on their superannuation or their pension fund, they don't have a nomination, they sometimes think that money gets left to the government. Does the government get it? The short answer to that is no. It always goes to your family, to your next of kin, assuming you've got next of kin. But basically, under the rules of superannuation, because it's set up as a trust structure, the trustees of the super fund are the ones that are legally bound to pay your superannuation to the right people, to the right superannuation dependents, and also to the right tax dependents as well. So when we talk to our clients about making a nomination, there's a couple of ways of who we nominate. You can either nominate a specific person, so your spouse. You can also nominate more than one person if you've got other people you'd like to, but we sometimes shy away from that because there's some tax issues about money being left to non-tax dependent adult children. A lot of people think, I'll leave it to my kids, but your kids are now adults. And the problem with that is that once that money gets paid to the adult children, there's a whole lot of tax that needs to be paid on some of the components to the tune of 17%, not 16.5%, 17%. So the nomination is who do we leave it to? So we're not solicitors, we can't give you the legal advice on this, but we know that leaving it to the spouse is one of the preferred ways, or if not to the spouse, you leave it to your estate. So what's called your legal personal representative, your LPR. And that's basically that you saying to the trustees, if I pass away, pay the money out into my estate, and I've got a will, let the will handle it to make sure that it gets paid to the right people. Under the nominations, where the non-binding and binding, just to explain that a little bit more, a non-binding nomination is where the trustees say, okay, the person who's passed away has said they want to leave it to their spouse or to their estate. Before we pay it to them, we just have to make sure that is the best, or that's the most appropriate beneficiary for that nomination. And because it's non-binding on the trustees actually then have to write to the next of kin and the potential beneficiaries for them to sign off that they're quite happy for the money to be left to, say, the spouse. Because of that extra time involved, a non-binding nomination just makes things a lot more time-consuming, and it can span out over the space of months. Whereas if you were to leave a binding nomination, because it's a binding obligation on the trustees, if the super fund says that it's been left to the spouse or left to the estate, then the trustees will have to pay that to that person. As long as the spouse is still alive, your estate is always there, so the money will get paid to that beneficiary. Look, generally, it depends on who is the beneficiary of that money eventually as well. It's sometimes hard to say. The tax, as you're probably well aware, that the tax office tries to close every type of loophole and make sure that they get their fair whack of tax as well. But yeah, if the money's left to the adult children, eventually they still pay that tax on that super part of it as well.
Can SI get around its very small benefit of the Medicare?
Thanks, Brett. I think we all know that when it comes to the tax matter, that all the loopholes and all the things you're able to do are now closed. All right, so that's basically talking about superannuation as an income stream in retirement, about how to access it. So let's talk about that other income stream that we said earlier that represents 70% for people of their principal source of income. So age pension, so what is it and how much and how does it all work? So at the moment, if you're a single person, not a couple, but a single person, the maximum age pension that person can get is just under $1,100 a fortnight, which is, over the space of a year, $28,500. So not a lot to live off, and that was what Steph was saying earlier about how much can I have in retirement to live off as a comfortable retirement or as a modest retirement, keeping in mind that a modest lifestyle requires an income of around about $32,000. A comfortable lifestyle can be all the way up to $50,000. Looking at a couple, same thing applies as well. The maximum rate that they can get as a couple is just over $826,000, which is around about $43,000 combined as well. Now don't be confused, because we sometimes have a husband and wife that they reach age pension at a different age to the other one. That doesn't mean you're classed as a single age pension recipient. You're still classed as a couple, and all your assets and income are counted together as a couple, but effectively you'll come under the couple rate set as well. So the eligibility for age pension, how does that work? Like super in terms of when you can get it, it depends on when you're born. If you may remember, females used to be age pension age at 60, and then that slowly moved up to 65 to meet up the same level as men. Now 65 has now been pushed down to 67. Common misconception a lot of people have is that they think that because in the media people talk about 67 as the retirement age, that you can't retire until 67. You can retire whenever you want. Whether you've got enough money to retire is another thing, but retiring whenever you want is different to reaching pension age. So currently at the moment for most people it's 67 years old, and when you get to 67 that's when they apply two tests. So I'll now explain that. It's called an income and an asset test. So the first test is the income test that we look at, and it's basically a sliding scale. Centrelink say, give me a list of all your assets and all your income that you currently receive. When they look at the income, they say they don't actually care how much money you're receiving from, say, your term deposits. They don't care exactly how much money you're getting from your share dividends. They use that asset figure and they pretend it earns at what's called a deemed income, which are those figures down the bottom. So you can have all this money sitting in shares in the bank and also your superannuation or your allocated pension. They don't actually care exactly how much you get from it. They just pretend it earns interest at those rates. So as a couple, the first 100,000 of your assets, your investment assets, is deemed to earn 0.25%, and then anything above 100,000 is deemed at 2.25%. So you could be earning 6% in your 8%, you could be earning 4% in your term deposit. They basically say that we don't care how much you actually earn, we're just going to pretend it earns this much. You may also still be working, you can still do a little bit of part-time work whilst you're in pension age, and they will count some of that income above a certain threshold. But the bottom line is that when they look at all of your income that you receive, plus the deemed income, as a example, if you're for the fortnight, if your income is more than $360 for the fortnight, or up to $360, you'll get the full age pension, which is at $826 per fortnight we mentioned before. As soon as your assessable income goes over $360, all the way up to $3,666, you'll get a sliding scale of age pension. So if you're right on the very upper limit, that's when you basically get $1 or $2 in age pension. If you're somewhere in between, again, you're on that sliding scale. So that income test is the first test that they apply, and that will determine how much age pension are you able to get. Then they also then apply the assets test. And similar to the income test, it's a sliding scale. So again, let's look at a couple. So a couple combined can have up to $451,500 in assessable assets. But what's an asset? Here's the question at the back. What's an asset? Basically, the asset value is everything you own effectively except for the value of your home. It can sometimes, with other exceptions, it can also include, not include I should say, your spouse's super. So let's say you've reached pension age, but your spouse hasn't. Their superannuation balance isn't included in the assets test. So one of the common strategies we have as advisors, if we've got a bit of a discrepancy between pension ages, is we can actually do a little bit of shifting of funds to lower your assessable assets. Because under an assets test, if you let the super say in one account that was assessable, you may not get any any age pension, or you may get a reduced amount. But by shifting that money across from one person's super into another, being aware of contribution limits that Kate mentioned before, assuming we can shield that money from assessment, it's completely legal, there's nothing untoward about it. You can actually move that superannuation from one person to another and maximise your age pension test. So the assets test can be that $451,500 will get you the full age pension all the way up to $1 million, just over $1 million, and that's when you get no age pension. So again, like the income test, it's a sliding scale. Now, of these two tests that apply, whichever one is the one that gives the worst result, lo and behold, that's the one that Centrelink say that's the one we're going to apply. So it's quite common to have clients that may say have a lot of assets but no income, and they may fall under the assets test, and conversely it could be the other way, where somebody hasn't quite got a huge amount of assets but they may be receiving a pension income, say from overseas, or an income stream from work, so they've got no a lifetime annuity. So whilst they don't have access to a large amount of assets, it's the income test that they fall foul on as well. Any questions with that one? Straightforward? Think of the head. bit of a bit complex area when we come to do the calculations, but similar to the ATO, when it comes to Centrelink, there's not a lot of stuff that you can do to actually legally shield your money from their assessment, apart from moving money from one to another for a spouse. The rest of the time, they even limit the amount of money you can gift as well. Have everybody heard of gifting? You can gift money to whoever you want, to your advisor even. You can, so the first 10,000 you can gift away, and Centrelink don't count that. But anything above 10,000, so you can give 100,000 away to a family member to help buy a house deposit, but of that, the 90,000 is still accessible for 5 years. So all the old loopholes you could get around, that's all been closed off there. Complex area, and then again, that's why we encourage everybody to have a chat to an advisor, because as an income stream in your retirement, age pension is probably going to play a big part. So you've got to get it right early. Let's just have a look at the concession cards as well, because a lot of the time when you talk to clients about are they eligible for age pension, if they are, the great thing that comes along with age pension is the pension and concession card. So the pension and concession card is the one that, apart from maybe Barb, hello again, did you get a card? Did you get it? Okay, all right. Let's say Barb gets the card. Barb's got this wonderful purple, bluey coloured card there as well. That's the one that give you all the discounts and so forth, and I'll go through some of those, what those discounts are as well. But by far, that's the pension and concession card is the one that we want our clients to try and receive if they're within the means of the income and the assets test. But if they can't meet that criteria of getting an age pension, you don't get the pension and concession card. When we have clients that maybe just, let's say for instance, they didn't receive age pension because of the assets test, but because they've been spending money or they've gone overseas on a holiday, or maybe because the market's declined and their assets all of a sudden fall below that 1 million mark, all of a sudden they're eligible to apply for the age pension. And that's where as advisors we say, let's take advantage of your lower assets. Let's get you just $10 worth of pension per fortnight, because what comes with it is that wonderful card there as well. If that's not the case though, what we can look at doing is applying for what's called the healthcare card, and it's issued to clients under what's called the low income assessment. So it's income tested. If we can't get you that, and I'll go through the figures on those as well, if you can't get the healthcare card, you're basically going to fall back on the Commonwealth Seniors Healthcare card, which when it comes to discounts and so forth, it's not quite as good as the other two cards, but it's at least something that you can try and use to get concessions wherever possible. So in terms of the eligibility of each concession card, the pension and concession card is obviously based on your age pension. It's usually valid for 2 years, and it's automatically reissued every 2 years as well. Healthcare card, the green one, is based under that the low income test. When we initially apply for it, Centrelink look at your income over an 8-week period. And as long as it's below a certain threshold, then you can get the healthcare card. The income that's included is employment income, rental income, deemed income from Super and allocated pensions. And if we can get you that, then we fall back on that Commonwealth Seniors, which basically has an income limit on whether if you're a single or a couple. If you're looking at a couple, you can have up to $144,000 worth of income in a year, which is a significant amount, and still get this Commonwealth Seniors Healthcare card. So to put them all into perspective in terms of what are those discounts, so the first column there is obviously the pension and concession card. That's also issued as well under the Veterans Affairs, so people who've got a DVA pension, they also get that concession card. Green, the healthcare card, the low income, then the Commonwealth Seniors. We've also got the last column. This is also a printout in your pack as well. We've also got at the end as well the Commonwealth Seniors card. That's the Victorian government. Anybody over 60 can apply for that, and that's the one that gives you the discounts on travel, on public transport, gives you discounts at the bistro next door, under the seniors menu, all that type of stuff as well. So with the pension and concession card, you can see all those ticks in the boxes there. That's the one that gives you all the discounts on your rates, your home rates, your electricity, your gas, your water, your car rego as well. So you get a 50% discount on the component in your rego, so you're effectively only paying $400 instead of $800. The healthcare card, if it's issued under low income, also offers similar types of concessions. Not so much on the rates with the council. And then you can see on the Commonwealth Seniors Healthcare card, that's why it doesn't give you the most, hardly gives you any discounts at all. And I say to my clients all the time, look, just flash it wherever you can to see if it works. Because still some corporations still allow you to actually get a bit of a discount in some areas. Any questions on any of that? There is concession caps? Because what I want to now do is move over to what we want to just talk about with financial advice. The reason why you're here, I know we've got some existing clients, but I know we've also got some new faces as well. And we want to talk about the power of financial advice. All these areas that we've just touched on, they are complex. There's a lot of areas that as advisors, the rules change all the time. They keep moving the goalpost. One year they'll say you can do this, the next year they'll say no, you can't do that. Governments come and go, they try and change all the rules as well. So financial advice is very important. And for us as Freedom Financial Planning, we pretty much can cover any area of your situation. So that's talking to you about superannuation and how that's in the lead up to retirement. How about your investments? Talking about Centrelink, what I was just talking about before, age pension and so forth. Insurance is perhaps if you're a bit younger, there's some younger faces in the crowd there, but insurance is so like life and disability insurance. So we can cover off on that as well. And aged care, which is becoming an increasingly more, popular, it's not like you choose, it's becoming increasingly more a big part of our business, where we're talking to our clients that maybe need to get some aged care, need to get some assistance in living. And that's another area where we haven't touched on today, but that's an area where we're finding more and more people that are requiring advice. You may have noticed, I know two people almost noticed and thought they'd come to the wrong presentation, but we've also got another part of our business called Freedom Mortgage Solutions. Sean, who's not here at the moment, I think he's actually out signing up loans at the moment, I'm not too sure, but he's not here at the moment. But another part of our business is if you sign loan and you're looking to get it refinanced, or maybe you've got your sons or daughters or even grandkids looking at buying their first home, in the pack you'll see one of the little green flyers there. That Sean little flyer. By all means, we encourage everybody to have a chat to Sean. It's always worthwhile. In the last 12 months or more, with home loan rates increasing quite significantly, a lot of people are looking to refinance to try and minimise that. We went from 1 or 2% to all of a sudden 6 or 7% in terms of rates. Sean's the man when it comes to looking at refinancing. When do you look at, again, mentioning that we've got a few different ages and faces here, when's the best time to see an advisor? Really the best time is always now. Don't leave it until you're getting closer to retirement thinking, the next few years I'll start talking about maximising super. You need to start thinking about it now. But the earlier you can act on any kind of advice, the better it is for the future. So whether you are in the early ages of 20 to 30, and again this also applies to your kids or grandkids, keep in mind that their situation, they may need to talk to an advisor about all those different areas of their situation, all the way through to where we are talking about retirement from the 60s and the 65s as well. So if you were to come and see an advisor, what do you expect? If you've never seen an advisor before, our business is all built around our ongoing advice to all of our ongoing clients. I know Barb's been with us for a while, Barb. Ryan, you've known Ryan quite a few years. And our ongoing advice service is probably the most important part of anybody's advice journey, because once we put something in place, you need to tailor it and make sure it suits your situation as your life changes as well. So when you come to see us for the first time, our first meeting, Steph mentioned it earlier on, there's no cost, there's no obligation, there's no high pressure sales by any means. We just want to sit down, get to know you, work out where we can help you, and you need to make sure that you're comfortable with working with the advisor as well. We do have a fee once we take it to the next step. So if you were to say, yes, I'm happy with what you've got to say, I like the ideas of doing A, B and C, let's talk about taking to the next step of getting formal advice. And that basically is where we then go away and say, we'll charge this amount of dollars to provide a strategic advice plan. And we go away, do all the background research, working out what's the best thing. Should you be salary sacrificing more? Is a TTR strategy important for you? All those strategies we've spoken about, plus more, that's when we sit down and work out what's the best thing for you. We then put that together in what's called a statement of advice. It's a nice thick plan that's literally 50 or 60 pages, thanks to the government over the years. What used to be a simple thing of let's do this and here's a few forms has now become war and peace in terms of the advice document. So once we prepare the plan, we put it together, we obviously sit down with you and go through it. We then implement it, we do all the forms, many forms. We don't expect any of our clients to do. That's all part of our service, including Centrelink as well. So nobody likes dealing with Centrelink. Certainly we don't like dealing with Centrelink, but we do. But basically we handle all of that part of everybody's situation for them. Once we've got it in place, again, building on this ongoing advice structure, we want to make sure that your situation is reviewed. So at least on an annual basis, possibly even every 6 months, could be even every quarter, depending on your situation, what's changing over the city. We need to meet with you and make sure that what we've implemented is still appropriate for you. Again, governments can come in and they can change rules. They can now say, can now do this. So then again, we go back to our clients and say, let's look at reviewing what we've done previously, because maybe we need to change something in the future as well. So that's us in a nutshell. So I want to thank everybody for coming tonight. I know we've covered a lot of information. And before you hold your applause, you may have noticed the young gentleman down the front there taking a few photos. And I did say to Steph before that it would be great if we took a photo for our social media, because we always like people to leave us a Google review or get onto Facebook for the older people. But we want to make sure, so if I can get everybody to just give me a wave while I give that hand up. Thank you. Come on, so you can bear with me on that as well. Sorry, let me just recap as well, just to mention what we've got there in the packs. We've got the feedback forms. Most importantly for us, we're always loving to hear the feedback on our presentations where we can improve what we did well. Also as well, on the bottom of each feedback form, the very bottom, you'll see the tick boxes. What we offer to all of the new people is that if you'd like to sit down with us and have a no cost, no obligation, just a chat, by all means tick the box, we'll be in touch with you. One of us three will be giving you a call and we can sit down and go through your situation as well. And I mention again as well, please feel free, you've got the information in the packs there. If you've had a good time tonight, by all means, leave us a good review. We always offer that as well. If you're on Facebook, by all means, do that as well. Thank you. If anybody's got any questions, you're more than welcome to shout them out now, or grab myself, Kate, Steph, or even Mark sitting in the back there as well. We're all advisors, we can give advice, so by all means feel free to ask what you've learned. Thanks for coming.